Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Flowerbomb. Welcome.
Hello, hi.
Hello, hello,
Thanks for
hello.
having us.
It is my pleasure to have both of you here. Thanks so much for being here. And what I want to do to start this off is have each of you introduce yourself to our audience and let us know a little bit about you and your background. So I'll start with Dan, since I'm looking at him.
Hey, yeah, I'm Danny BH. I am the drummer slash producer of Flowerbomb, and we have been a band for several years now, and I'm very excited to be here. So thank you.
Awesome. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am the singer, songwriter, guitar player of Flowerbomb. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here as well.
Awesome, awesome. And I'm happy to have both of you here. And tell me, how did you meet and come up with the name Flowerbomb too? I love that. How did this all get started?
Thank you. Yeah, so I always love answering this question because Dan and I actually met at an open mic series called the Lab All Ages. Which was an open mic that Dan hosted in Alexandria, Virginia. So I started going to those by the recommendation of my guitar teacher at the time when I was just 15. And that's kind of where I got my start writing songs and playing in front of people. And so Dan kind of became a mentor to me during that time. We really got to know each other through, I started volunteering at shows he was putting on in the space. And so it really was kind of a mentorship type situation. And then I left for college and ended up coming back, and I was like, hey, like I want to do some full band stuff. Who would be interested in playing drums for me? And I needed a drummer and a guitar player, and I just made like a Facebook post, didn't really think much of it. And Dan offered to play drums for me, which I was so excited about because I obviously really looked up to him and still do in a lot of ways. And so
in a lot of ways.
in all the ways. But it's a different relationship now because obviously now that I'm an adult, it's like there's a lot of things where there's still a mentorship aspect, but we're also more equals in this type of process. But that it started from there, and it's been, I guess, 6 years now, and we've been playing together ever since. And we have just really amazing musical chemistry. And there's no one else I would rather be playing music with. So
I love that. And how did you come up with the name Flowerbomb?
Oh yes, so a lot of the music that I write tends to kind of be around the concept of femininity. It explores gender and sexuality a lot, and so I really wanted a name that kind of embodied that, but also kind of destroyed the idea of I don't know, like there's this idea of like a flower as a delicate thing. We view femininity as really delicate, and in a lot of ways, like I see myself that way, but I also wanted to kind of add this element of strength and destruction, which kind of embodies the whole project, I feel, and a lot of the
that duality. I love that.
Thank you.
And Dan, I see a lot of records behind you. So much. Tell me about what kind of music or artists that influenced you growing up and influenced the work that you do today, and what you put into the sound of Flowerbomb.
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really great question. And I really wanted to open up and say, yeah, I produced all these records. Just joking. I'm obviously super, super influenced by music. Growing up, I'm obviously much older than Rachel, but I have always been growing up in I was born in the 80s and really growing up in the late 90s, listening to music as a teenager, has really embodied what type of music I listen to, but also what type of music I'm super influenced by. And so like the 90s alt rock scene, alt rock music really seeps into Flowerbomb. But I don't think that's just because of me. I think that's a mutual liking of that type of music. But then there's also the 2000s happened and the punk and emo scene was really thriving for me. And so I got really into that. And then in the 2010s, I was really into the independent and DIY music scene, which caused me to meet all these other people. And obviously Rachel and some other people that we played with over the past 5 or 6 years. And yeah, so specific bands that come to mind when I think of production and some of my favorite bands, but one band comes to mind, and that's Third Eye Blind. Third Eye Blind is I actually had their shirt on earlier, but changed it. I'm a big Third Eye Blind fan. Just because of their everything about them, but mainly their production. When I was when I was a younger chap, if you will, their production had always struck me as like this rock band, but also with so many other layers going on, whether they were trying things with electronics or trying so many different vocal layers and just like dynamic, extensive, like super awesome drumming with like wicked guitar lines and all that. And obviously we embody that in Flowerbomb, but you know, just like I was saying, there's a lot of, if you read our bio, it says shoegaze and alt rock and punk and indie and emo. And I would assume that or know that Rachel feels the same way about that stuff too. So we obviously like different types of music, but I think there are certain bands where we really line up. And I think you can hear a lot of that influence. And I think as a producer, just to wrap this up, as a producer for Pretty Dark, we work very extensively for that specific sound. And on these new singles that we're working on, we're also trying different things and kind of doing something different. But at the time when we did Pretty Dark, there was it's such an experimental album. Like if you listen to the record, every song sounds like it's influenced by a different genre almost. And I'm really into soundscapes, and I'm really into sort of building dynamics, putting dynamics and lush things together to make it a cohesive and sort of like approachable sound, that if you listen to this type of music, but you also like this type of music, then you'll like this. So
I love that. And where are you both from?
Well, I'm from right outside of DC in Virginia. I live in Baltimore now.
And you live in Baltimore now. What about you, Dan?
I'm originally from Florida, which I usually don't tell people, but this is live. So haha, it's out. So I actually, but you know, a lot of that has to do with the type of music I was listening to, because the pop punk scene was very, very lively back then. But I moved here in 2005. So I've been here for a long time. And when I say here, I mean outside the DMV, the Washington DC area. I also live in Alexandria, Virginia, and our studio home base and rehearsal space is in Alexandria, Virginia also.
Rachel, tell me about the music community, you know, in the DMV, and what's that like for you, especially as a band? What's that musical community like here in the DC area, and how has that helped, you know, Flowerbomb, you know, with performing or just having support from other musical peers? What's that like?
Yeah, that's a big question. So growing up in the DMV and specifically Northern Virginia, at least my experience with the music community was a lot of house shows, a lot of art spaces. There was kind of that scene, and then there was also the DC scene, which was more venues. And I was more familiar with the house venues because that's kind of what we were doing at the Lab All Ages. Was we were putting on shows at the Lab, which was an art space, but also it kind of brought in the surrounding house show community as well. And I think that has really informed kind of our ethics as a band. Like we although things are look really different now. We still kind of have that DIY punk ethics and roots. And then things changed a lot as the community changed, and the house show scene kind of died down. And so we kind of got more into the venues in DC, and that's been really great. It's been tough with the pandemic. That kind of changed everything.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. And so I moved to Baltimore right before the pandemic. And so my hope to also expand into playing into Baltimore hasn't really happened until recently, when we've been able to play shows again. And it's been really great to kind of have that to expand into another community that I'm not as familiar with. I feel like the DC community, having grown up so close to there and really played so many shows in that community, it's like such a familiar space, although like new venues and bands are coming up all the time. So that's really cool. But kind of getting to really explore a new scene has been really cool, and I hope we can kind of do that in other surrounding cities too. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, it was really DIY at first, and it's kind of become more bigger venues. I mean, still like small venues in comparison to like I guess like, I don't know. I mean, we play a lot at like DC9 and High Shop and stuff like that, which to me is still bigger than a house show, but obviously it's not like a big venue. Yeah. Yeah.
I like that you brought up the pandemic, because I do want to get into that, because especially as performers, that's what you do, perform. You get on the stage and you perform. And so when the pandemic hit, of course, that changed for a lot of people. Now that we are 2 years in, and hopefully we are, on the way out, has that changed somewhat, and what are your hopes for this year and moving forward as we kind of transition out of this phase and start getting back on stage again and being in front of people and in front of crowds? What's your outlook on that? Either of you can take that.
So I'll start, and I'm sure Dan will have things to add on, but really the pandemic changed everything about how we look at connecting with people. We were a band that really thrived off of our live shows. That was kind of like where we connected with people, and people always gave us feedback that our live shows, we had so much energy and it looked like we were having fun. And like, I was always like, yeah, we are having fun. Like, this is the best, And so then when we weren't able to do that, I think it really forced us to look inward about like, what are we doing here? And what are some new ways we can connect with people? And it really forced us to get into like the business aspect of being a band, which was something that obviously starting out DIY, we really never kind of got into before. And so we did some virtual shows, and we really got into merch and other ways because obviously we also couldn't make money, which is important for recording new material and all of that stuff. So we really looked at, how do we do this when we can't see people in person? And so I think moving forward, we want to continue with some of the definitely some of the business things that we learned along the way, and also the accessibility that has been gained through the pandemic, where like the virtual shows allowed more people that had never seen us before to be able to see us. And so while we transition into playing more live shows, and I think our hope is to bring along with us the knowledge that we gained and the kind of community that we built that way, but also being able to continue to connect with people in the way that we did before with our live shows. And I think one big goal for us is we want to tour. And that's something that when we put out Pretty Dark, our record that came out at the end of 2020, we've been working on that record for 4 years. And we were like, we can't sit on it any longer. We have to put it out now. And our hope with putting out the record was always to have a record release show and to tour on it, and that those were all things that had to be put on the back burner. And so I think now we're in a position where some of those things do look feasible in the near future. So I definitely think that I would say that would be a big goal for us this year. And Dan, if you have any additions to that, feel free to hop on.
Yeah, it's just interesting about thinking like 2 years ago to now. And, you know, at the time when the pandemic happened, there was, you know, we were about to finish this record. And, you know, I think the pandemic was, unfortunately, but fortunately, one of the best things that happened for us as a band, because where we are now is so much different than we were 2 years ago. And I think because of we had to sort of reshape how we were doing things. I mean, we put out a record in the middle of the pandemic. We were trying to shop the record. We would not probably have done that. But we had so much time to just focus on these things that we never focused on before, or maybe didn't have the opportunity to. And right now it was sort of like during that time, we're just like, all right, we have time. We need to learn how do we get more audience members to listen to the record or listen to us or become a fan without seeing us at a show, because it's working for millions of other bands. So how do we do that and not rely on just playing a show locally or regionally? And we did that, you know. And also another thing that we did is that, just like Rachel said, we worked on that record, these 9 or 10 songs for 4 years. Within 1 year, Rachel and I think wrote like 13 or 14 demos, which is more than we've ever done before. And it was, you know, I was recording stuff here at my house because I couldn't go to the studio, and she was at her apartment in Baltimore, and we were going back and forth. We were just knocking songs out left to right. And we got a label picked us up and put out our record, you know. So there was a lot of work that went into those 2 years. And now because of that, shows are starting to open up, and we're playing more shows than we have ever played before on a quarterly basis. So
that is great. That is great. And you know, you can't ask for much, but that is really, really good. And I know that you'll be performing at the Whammies, you know, this month. Is that next week? By this point, or is that the week after?
It's the week after, March 26th, March 26th, Saturday.
Yeah, so that is really awesome. Talk to me about that and the preparation for performing at the Whammies.
Yeah, we were super honored when they asked us to play, because just being a part of the DMV community and putting out this record in the middle of the pandemic and all this stuff, it was a huge honor to be recognized for the 2021 awards for the best rock song and best rock album. And so it was a huge honor, and we couldn't celebrate it in person. So for us, I feel like this is kind of a celebration of that. And so, yeah, I mean, in preparation, we are just trying to put on the best performance we could possibly put on. We have one song, and so we are just, we have, you know, 5 minutes to make people fall in love with us, and we plan to
use those 5 minutes well.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say, the cool thing about the Whammies is because it's recognizing like every genre of music, and the fact that we get to represent, out of all the rock bands, we are the one rock band that gets to represent the rock music scene of Washington, D.C. And that's huge. I mean, one thing is like getting recognized for an album that you worked on for 4 years, and people that have never heard it before listened to it and they said, yeah, this is definitely the best rock album of the year. We're like, whoa, really? Cool. Neat. We think so. And so being able to play the Whammies to such a diverse group of people, from, you know, it's going to be us and a hip hop group and a go-go group and a pop group, and that's just so awesome. And we get to play in this beautiful theater that I heard so many good things about, called the Capitol Turnaround. I have never been there. They opened up like right before the pandemic. So it's just going to be really cool to play in such a big, I think the capacity is like 1,000 people. So we're really excited about it. And just like Rachel said, yeah, our preparation is to play the best 5 minutes that we could ever play for a bunch of new people. So excited, very excited.
Awesome.
And honored.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you received such positive feedback for the album, you know, for the music. That, of course, is really, really great and helps a lot with, you know, giving you, lighting a fire under you so you feel like the work that you're doing is being recognized by people. They love it, they appreciate it, and, you know, you're touching people in some way when they listen to your music. When you think about, you know, crafting another record, crafting another album, what is on the top of your mind when you think about what you want to leave with people when they pick up the next, you know, album from Flowerbomb?
So right now we've been working on a bunch of singles, which is really exciting. But one thing that Dan and I have talked about extensively since we started demoing over the pandemic is that this feels like a new era for us. Pretty Dark definitely felt like a lot of the material was super heavy, and it was kind of about like it was written in the midst of trauma, so it really is a record that is processing that and kind of in that feeling. And I think these new songs, although like people joke a lot and they're like, oh, when are you going to write a happy song and all this stuff? And it's like, well, to me, these new songs like really embody a sense of joy, even if it like, maybe that doesn't come through for everyone, but for me, it's like, it is writing about coming through on the other side of that.
Yeah,
and so
it's catharsis.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly that. And so it's like, there may still be references to these heavy things, but to me, it's not a sad thing necessarily to reflect back on that. And it's so like therapeutic and cathartic for me to be able to write this music. And so I think, yeah, definitely for New Flowerbomb stuff, it's you know, there's still obviously elements of heaviness, because that's for me important to acknowledge and write about, but there's also a really huge element of joy, I think.
I love that. Dan?
Yeah, I was just thinking about these new songs, and just when you thought we couldn't branch into any other genres, here we are again, just doing it again, just trying. We're taking, like, it's still our sound, but we are doing kind of messing around with some other genres that we listen to now, or heavily influenced maybe a while ago, and starting to kind of collaborate together to kind of explore that again. So in a sense, it's kind of the same thing we did with Pretty Dark, but completely different content and completely different sounds. Rachel is also taking a lot more responsibility with guitars. She's not just playing one guitar part, she's writing two guitar parts. I'm starting to write some stuff with her. I'm doing the drums. We're both doing key parts. We're collaborating with people outside of our realm. Whether that's a guest person on a slide guitar, or an organ player, or a bass player, or a couple different bass players. We've just been sort of like, that's where we're at right now. And it's been really cool to collaborate with some of these other people too. But it's really nice to know at the end of the day, it's Rachel and I, and that's really cool. And
that is really cool.
We're very excited about these next batch of songs, and you can, they will be released probably at the end of the summer, so early fall.
Awesome.
We'll have some new songs and all that. So
awesome. And so where can people catch you this spring, upcoming shows?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you showed the poster for everyone, because it makes it easy. But yes, so we're playing the Whammies on 3/26 at Capitol Turnaround. We got a last minute show that we're opening for Hannah Vu on March 23rd at DC9. So that's an addition. But then we're also playing Comic Ping Pong on April 14th. We're playing Union Stage on April 30th with Ali X, which we're super excited about. Yeah, love her. And then we're playing May 19th at the Pie Shop with Safari Room. Yeah, So
Awesome. And by the way, how can people follow you and get music, get updates, and just keep up to date with everything that Flower Bomb is doing? How can they do that?
absolutely. So our handle is Flower Bomb Band, one word on everything. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Bandcamp is a great place to follow us and listen to our music directly. We have a Spotify. We're on all streaming platforms. So if you just search Flower Bomb, one word, or Pretty Dark, our record, you'll find us on any streaming platform of your choice. Am I missing any, Dan?
Oh, I'm just excited about the brand new video we just released too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, just our first music video ever.
Fabulous. And what was that like making it? What was the experience like making that first music video?
It was incredible. It was the best experience of my life, probably, for sure. Can't speak for Dan, but I know he had a great time too. We worked with a director named Mitchell Worley, who is phenomenal. He was so amazing to work with. He's originally from Florida and moved to the DC area and does kind of mostly political videos and things like that, and has been recently getting into the realm of music videos. And so his process is just so amazing. We were able to create something so much bigger than we ever thought was possible. We filmed everything at the Lateral Ages that keeps coming up, which is our practice phase where we met and had those open mics. And so it was like a place that had so much sentimental value for us. And yeah, Dan and I always talk about how cool it was to see him come into that space, Mitchell, and see it from a completely different lens than we've ever looked at it. And just going into rooms and seeing potential for scenes and just like different shots and all these things. And I was like, wow, I never thought anything about this room. Like, that's really cool. And
what's the song title, by the way, for this song with the music video?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, which you can find on YouTube. It's on the Mutineer Records, which is our label. It's on their YouTube. So if you just search Mutineer Records, one word, you can find it on their page. And yeah, it was so much fun to make. And honestly, it was really great to work with him from an emotional level and an artistic level. Like he has the skill, obviously, to take on something like this, and that was really cool to watch. But then also just like he was able to bring a vulnerability out of me that I didn't know was possible, especially in a setting that was just so unfamiliar to me. He made me feel really comfortable, and that was cool.
Awesome. Well, we are going to have the links to the social media and website and all of that in the description below. So those who are watching, go ahead and check it out. Check out everything that Flower Bomb has to offer. Dan, ABH, Rachel, thank you both so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure getting to chat with you, and I wish you much success on your fabulous music career. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful.
Awesome. So to those who are watching, please follow Team Racine Productions at Team Racine on all forms of social media. Like, comment, and subscribe. And most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.